All right. Well, hey, everybody that has joined, thank you so much for tuning in to basically a little special version of our monthly Cilio webinars that we do. Traditionally, Jen and Paul and Daniel and team have done a outstanding job just sharing some value with our clients about new features, just different way to utilize the system. And this is going to be a two-part series for us today. So in the next 60 minutes, we've got a lot of good content to cover. Really excited to announce some guest speakers in just a moment, and we'll spend about 20 to 30 minutes speaking with these gentlemen that'll help just share some roundtable type advice. And then we're going to hand this over to our support and product team to talk about what's new and upcoming in Cilio, some hacks and tips and tricks. And with that, let's jump right into it. So again, guys, can't thank you enough. It's mid-June, it's busy season, and for you guys to just stop and take the time and spend it with us means the world. So, reason for this session in this different format is this: really, business has been down, is the message we're hearing from a lot of our clients, for a variety of reasons. It's the economy, it's the big question mark, it's tariffs. There's a lot of money that people are willing to spend, but a lot of folks are a little more apprehensive this year with the state of things. And basically, so business being down is one of the challenges. But then I think for, a lot of our folks engaging in big box installation, consolidation has made it harder as well. So, you're used to be a lot of small installers out there when now there's far fewer larger installers. And so it's harder to kind of gobble up new territory. And for anybody looking to grow their company, it can be difficult. A lot of our clients, I think have got a feeling or a desire to expand or possibly diversify their company, but maybe you're not quite sure how or where to expand or what to look for. And you're a little apprehensive about, dipping a toe into waters that are unfamiliar or might not be good for your business. And so we had the generous offer from two industry vets. For many of you, they don't need an introduction, but for those of you that don't know, they've agreed to come down here and just answer some questions, share some knowledge. And let me introduce our guest speakers today. So, first one is Paul Wyman, uh, wonderful gentleman. Lowe's background to start. You might know him as a national field provider director. He's held positions of a provider management and over optimization. He's been a national sales director of specialty and services. And then prior to that, an Orange West Vestware for 15 years at various roles at Home Depot, and including divisional director of sales and product. And there's probably about 16 more, I think, on his resume I didn't mention. So just a wealth of experience and knowledge. And funny enough, he did it all in like 5 years. So anyway, he's about 29 now, I think. Picking a little bit on him. Next gentleman who's joined us too, Carl Coffey. Another gentleman I'm privileged to have worked with in the past as a red vest wearer myself. But recently a Lowe's national install merchant. He's held position of a regional director of services. Did a stint as area HR, district services manager, project manager before that, and just many positions within Lowe's where I'm sure he learned a lot and has a lot to share. So what we're bringing and what we ask these three gentlemen to contribute today on is to help just bring some advice, some knowledge to you folks, really around three questions we're going to target. The first one's going to be just, any advice they could share in growing within your current retailer. Another question is working with additional retailers. And then, for people considering growing your own business, any thoughts or advice they might be able to share to help you steer or navigate that path as you're considering it. All right, I'm going to stop talking for a minute and ask the first question. Going to lead off with Paul. Paul, what advice can you share for a big box installer trying to grow in their current retailer, looking to expand out or grow within their current one? Yeah, any thoughts?
Yeah, quite a few thoughts, and thank you, David. Yeah, folks, 26 plus years with Depot, and I ran the services program for most of that time with Depot, then 6 plus years with, or just about 6 years with Lowe's. So wore many hats, as David said, more hats than I have places on the hat rack. And so I think that for me, the big box, when you start looking at the big box, and I think we're singing out of the same hymnal here to this group, relationships. You have got to build strong relationships, and it's a matter of ongoing. It's not a matter of a phone call once a month or, hey, I got a problem. So, I need you to take care of my problem. It's a matter of consistently talking to your NIM, your field provider manager, or the equivalent on the other side of the street, or with Costco or whomever. But build those relationships in the stores. The relationship with the store is absolutely critical. You need to know who the store manager is. It's not a matter of going in there and saying, hey, I want to spend all this time with you. I need to talk to you for 30, 45 minutes. They don't have the time. But let them know that you are in their store and that you're representing them and you're representing the services side of the business. And keep those relationships moving all the time, and ask for input. What do you see? What do you need me to do? What are you hearing? How can I get better? Where do your people need training? Where do they need the training at? And that type of thing. So growing your business in a big box is typically a matter of making sure that you have those relationships. And I would caution demanding growth in a relationship. You need to earn that relationship. You need to earn that respect. And I think many of you have on this call, but continue to have those relationships at a very high level. And then always feel free to reach out to others within the industry on any tidbits that you'd like to know, one-on-one conversations that need to be had. So, David, I hope that helps with Carl. I'll pass it on to Carl.
That helps a lot. And I just want to interject one comment too. For anybody that's listening in and you're trying to jot some pearls of wisdom down, we're recording the session and we'll be happy to send out a link to this afterwards. So you can just kind of enjoy this. And like I say, with that, Carl, same question to you. Any advice you could share for a big box installer looking to grow within the retailer?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to remember, and it's going to sound so simple, but I promise you it's the piece that a lot of people miss. It's like you got to balance that you are managing a relationship with a person and with a business. And it's hard to walk that line. But really what I mean there is, one, like Paul said, and he did a great job going through this, right? Like you've got a store manager. You want that store manager to know that they can trust you, that you're going to take care of their customers, you're going to take care of their team. On top of that, you've got to, regardless of what they're called, at Lowe's they were called a NIM, but there's somebody managing that category. There's somebody managing your area. They need to know that they can count on you. Like there's a trust piece there that is dramatic. And if I can't trust you, I can't grow you. But on the other side, there's favors too, right? I don't even mean like favors that cost you money or anything like that. Sometimes a call comes down and says, hey, we've got this VIP customer and I need somebody that I know is going to be able to do this right. And they're going to be able to make this something special. Usually that reverberates around the community and everything. But don't forget that reverberates too in your industry, in your section, but also at that retailer. And the part about the business, there's numbers there that are on a report to people that have no idea who you are, and they matter. If your LTR isn't hitting a certain level, if your close rate's not hitting a level, or if there's expenses that are just going through the roof, it don't matter how great your relationship is. At some point, there's going to be a spotlight on you that you can't get out of without getting those numbers right. So it's people, business, same time.
Yeah, great stuff, guys. Appreciate that. And yeah, again, welcome anybody. If you have comments, questions, drop them right in the chat window, and yeah, we'll be able to circle around and answer those the best we can. Next question. This one's going to be any tips. Let me start with you, Paul, that you can provide to a provider looking to expand or considering going across the aisle into a different retailer. If you're a Lowe's installer, you're thinking of working for Depot. Anything that maybe will help people understand what the differences are and to help make the decision, if that might make sense for them to explore.
A lot of dynamics to this response. So a lot of variables. And again, you need to know who your decision makers are. To Carl's point, if you've got a NIM and you've got a category, and I'll use fence as a category, when we started to go down that path of a type 2, that really the NIM started to own a lot of that expansion there. And but prior to that, it was the local field provider managers or the local regional folks that would own that category. the decision-making process, understand where you're at in the decision-making process. So that's why you need to have those relationships as well. Develop that relationship with the NIM, make sure that the NIM knows who you are, and or the equivalent thereof. And if you have a CBR team or a centralized business review team, and you're going through centralized business reviews or any type of business review, make people aware that you want to expand. Ask them again, what are the pain points in the business for a retailer? Because one thing as a retailer, we're looking to eliminate pain points, and there's a ton of moving parts, and there's a ton of pain points that can happen. So how do we eliminate those pain points? And are you a solution in eliminating those pain points? You take what you've got. Let's say, in my experiences with Home Depot and with Lowe's, if you decide that you're going to go into a Costco or a Sam's or something like that, you've got that experience to carry with you. Make people aware of where you're at, and I can't stress it enough. And Carl touched on this. Your likely to recommend or your voice of the customer, your scores are absolutely so critical, because the one thing that we all make sure we get graded on is you want that referral, but you want that customer to be happy. And Depot or Lowe's may have 1 billion customer transactions in a year. It's critical that we continue to drive or help drive those transactions back to the stores, and you do that through a services program. And I think we're all aware that services is a very difficult type program. It's much more difficult than selling a trinket off the shelf. As long as you got the trinket, you'll sell it. But with services, you're actually crossing the threshold into their space, and it's a whole different ballgame when you're in the space of the customer. You got to have a different level of expectation and appreciation for the customer at that point, and they need to know that you're appreciating where they are at. So if you want to expand, again, the expansion piece, you got to show the ability to expand. You got to show the willingness to expand. Uh, I can promise you that we've expanded companies that should not have been expanded. We've hurt those companies, and no retailer wants to do that to any company. That's not the process behind it. So make sure that you make people aware. You talk to them about their pain points, where those pain points are at, and how you can be a solution for them, and then help drive the business and continue to keep that at the forefront. Carl?
Yeah. And Paul, that's absolutely brilliant, man, because I'm in the same boat. If I slice it, the type of models that I'm used to, so self-furnish and install SF&I, where the retailers, for the most part, generating the leads, and you're selling them, you're bringing the material, you're doing the install. A lot of time, if you're working on a platform like IME, or if you're working through, a Cilio that's consolidating those coming in the end, regardless of how many retailers you work for on the SF&I side, really the only thing that's going to limit you is your capacity and your efficiency to be able to handle those coming in. Uh, when you start getting over onto the, we used to call it type one, but the more traditional install where the retailer actually sells it and supplies the material, and your job is to go and do the labor. I always tell people that, the one trade-off, you're going to get guaranteed work. You don't have to do marketing, any of those things when you work at the retailer. But what you're trading off is they can admin you to death. And I think that is a really important moment for a provider, because a lot of times, and I've said this before, that when you go from being a small, maybe even share a store in a category, and all of a sudden you now have your own district with a retailer, you start realizing that the inefficiencies start making you completely unprofitable, and you didn't even know that they were there before. So if you're going to go into a different retailer, if you're going to grow with one retailer, you've got to make sure that you have something that is going to bump your efficiency up, and that you're starting to operate less like a single owner operator and more like a company. Because if you think you can be, an owner building a fence, and then at the same time, manage 10 stores, 20 stores, you're sadly mistaken. At that point, you got to have somebody that just runs a business, let alone the job sites and the program. So, yeah.
Hey, David, if I could, and again, Carl kind of sparked some additional thoughts. If you're expanding your business, be prepared to be the sole owner of every issue that went wrong for the reason why you expanded your business, and for you to be gifted that business. So, in other words, whatever issues created the issue that got you the opportunity to expand, you're now the owner of those issues. and you'll be expected to take care of those. And again, that just comes with the territory. I mean, be prepared for it, and you have to master change. Don't let change master you. Master change, because change is going to happen in a big box. It happens on a consistent basis. People that are in play, like I'm no longer with Lowe's, I'm no longer with Home Depot, so that change happened. And people that are in play today may not be there tomorrow. Just be prepared that change will happen. The other thing I would say for any type of expansion is take care of your people. Make sure your people are you listen to them. And I'm talking about your folks in the front office or in the phone center that actually talk to the customers, to actually set the schedules and so forth. Make sure they're having a good day, because if they're not having a good day and that translates into a frustration phone call with a customer, you will hear about it. Because if I'm in play, I'm giving you a call and we're going to have a conversation. And usually, I'm going to be understanding. I don't know how compassionate I'll be, but I'll be understanding. And because take care of those customers, every customer counts. And by the way, don't forget you're probably a customer as well. So don't lose sight of that. That you and your team are customers. You count. You should have a voice. So thanks.
Oh, great stuff, guys. And, I was thrilled to see a couple different of our clients able to pick up some new territory today. And I think that really resonates. Most anybody who's picked up some additional territory has had that situation where you have to own the issues that come with it, and being ready for that, man. That's great tips. Last question I want to just get your thoughts on, guys. We see a number of our clients, starting to explore, and many of them going forward with opening up a retail sales side to diversify outside of their big box. Could be right for some, it could not be right for some. But if anybody's considering looking outside and growing their own retail selling organization that really kind of got their scale and size through, maybe a big box relationship, what would you say to them? Any advice, for growing that retail side of their business?
I would tell
And
you that any lead that came from the big box stays with the big box. Do not covet a big box's lead for your own business, because I would terminate that contract in a heartbeat. And because to me, it's an ethical issue. It's a matter of character. And I get it. Leads cost money. They cost money for everybody. But truly, if you open up a retail, be prepared, because you may have some questions that will come to you from the big box. Make sure you're secure in that relationship with your big box. In addition to that, make sure they're being taken care of, that you've got the consistent contact and support for those stores, unless you're planning on losing that business. And don't let that suffer because you open up a retail environment. You can do whatever you want to do. It's the big boxes cannot co-employ you and tell you can't do something. You can do it, but they have a decision that they can make at any time with the contracts that I'm aware about, that I'm familiar with, that on whether you remain in play or not. So be judicious about it. Make sure it makes sense, and I would caution any conflict with the business you have across the board. So.
yeah, great tips. And yeah, Carl, same question to you, sir. Anybody looking to grow a retail side of their business outside of big box? Any tips, advice you could share?
Yeah, I'll try to tackle this from two sides. One, from if you currently work with a big box and you're trying to start your own, versus, hey, just you want to start your own and that's just what you do. So if you currently work with a retailer, there's a lot more to it than just trying to maintain that relationship or trying to do more outside of your current business. To Paul's point, you got to be careful with leads, being seen as a competitor, and even outside of sales. What happens if you start growing your footprint in your personal business outside of where you work with a retailer? Now you're potentially taking capacity and installers from your retailer partner through another installer. Like, I'm not saying that any of those things are wrong. I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't do any of those things. Perception is a massive part of that when you start having your own business that can potentially compete with the retailer. On the other side, things are so chaotic right now that I think there has to be a moment where you sit back and recognize that just because you are phenomenal at being an installer, phenomenal at measuring and delivering on those expectations, if you're going to start your own retail business, you're going to have to build out an entire another skill set, not just for you, but for your team. Are you going to hire salespeople? You've got a great measure tech that goes in the home, but can they close? Can they beat somebody from a super high pressure situation like a Champion Windows or something of that nature? On top of that, are you going to have a storefront? Do you have the distributors in place that can get you the prices you need? Because people don't go to a Lowe's or a Depot because they think they're the cheapest. They know they're paying a premium. But now if they go to Coffee Construction, are they going to be willing to pay that premium? So there's a few more different sides there that you got to really take the time to think about, but also understand next handful of years, we don't know what tariffs are coming in and out. We know that prices are changing. Labor's more expensive than it's ever been, and there's a labor shortage that continues to hit. So it's getting expensive. And when you hold the whole bag and you don't have some additional, just guaranteed cash flow from a retailer, just keep that in mind. There's a lot to weigh there.
Yeah, and if you're a retail business, remember this as well. And I think Carl makes some fantastic points, but Lowe's typically has about 11,000 footsteps a week. Those are 11,000 opportunities a week per store on average. Depot has roughly about 18,000 footsteps per week, or 18,000 opportunities. Those are all opportunities. If you've got a retail environment, you're lead generating, just remember the turf you're on. If you're out there and you're paying a monthly fee to per territory for advertising, for marketing, to bring leads to you, make sure those leads are kept separate from what you get out of a store, because whatever you develop inside that store, and it's a home show every day. So that's a big difference in having a home show over the weekend. In one of these stores, it's a home show every single day. And so it's a great place to go in there and cultivate leads and drive leads as well. But on your own, there's no problem with you doing it on your own as well, because we had a number of providers that did just that, from kind of a retail environment or a franchise environment as well. And again, nothing wrong with that. Just remember where the lead came from, and do not allow the leads to be confused down the road. If it were me, and I got one from Big Box, and then it also came through my channel, I'd give it to the Big Box if I wanted to keep that relationship.
Great points, guys. And we can see a growing trend of some people that are, splitting off and starting a retail side of the business to diversify. Couple, good best practices I've seen is that oftentimes people will, have a completely different side or name of their company, different business name, different logos to eliminate that crossover. And even reviews and things of that sort, being able to keep everything completely separate, it seems like a good trend that I'm seeing. We can certainly support you from the system side. Again, a lot of what we talk about is, what we can do and help, and that's what the team is here to share. We've got a variety of options, everything from, quoting enhancements, e-signature, and payment processing. And from a system side, we're happy to help and kind of help you navigate that systems route. And again, can't thank, Paul and Carl, you guys enough for just coming on and sharing some pearls today. Hope anybody that's considering expansion of their business was able to take something away from this. And, in the future too, feel free to drop into that chat window if there's anything else that you're thinking about as a business, outside of just software that Cilio deals with. We've got a pretty good outreach of connections and networking partners that if we can bring in people like Paul and Carl to share some information that might help our clients further their business, then we're happy to consider that too. And love to hear from you guys. With that, I'm going to wrap up my segment. Next coming up is going to be Daniel on our team. He's going to be talking about some things that Cilio is working on in the future. And then we'll hand this off to Jen and his team. And with that, Paul, Carl, thanks again, guys, for your time, and means the world to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Daniel, over to you.
Thank you, Dave. Glad to see everybody could join us today. We appreciate the time you're giving us. And I'm going to lead things off here by giving you guys a quick peek at some work we're planning in the future with the APIs that we use to connect to various retailers. For those of you who don't know or are curious, API means Application Programming Interface. It's simply a doorway for us to go in and get more direct access to data. And we're leading off with a really big announcement about Lowe's and the APIs we use to interface and talk to their API or their IMS system. Lowe's has announced officially, so all of you should probably be aware of this by now, that they are doing a whole new suite of APIs for IMS. They're going to be sunsetting what we currently use. It's all going away, and they're going to be rolling out a brand new way of connecting to them. And we are super excited about this because essentially what they're doing is, for the last 7 or 8 years, we've been taking feedback from you, the installers, and funneling it up to Lowe's to say, hey, this would make life easier for everybody if the API did this, or if we had this piece of data on the API. Can we connect to this part of the system? Lowe's has listened, guys, and they had a call with us where they rolled out their first schema, and essentially their game plan, the best way I can describe it is they're planning to give us everything we've asked for plus efficiency. It's an amazing opportunity to expand our capabilities with Lowe's, and we're really excited to see this rolling out. Current timeline for Lowe's, they are still tinkering with things and getting their plan together, but their tentative target is first quarter of next year for us to start utilizing these. So we've got a little bit of time here, but we are working closely with them, and we expect this to be a huge expansion in our capabilities with communicating with that system. The other thing about Lowe's is a lot of you have reached out to us about PO modifications and getting notified when there's a PO modification. We will have more from Paula on that later today, but there is an exciting development around that, and we're going to be able to help you guys out a lot, I think, with the PO modifications. Some other things that are upcoming and in process, Blinds.com. As many of you may be aware, Blinds.com is an arm of Home Depot. They have created a suite of APIs for the installer network portal that, if you're doing work for Blinds.com, you have to interface with. And this is not necessarily a new integration for us. It's a little over a year old, but it is expanding greatly. They've increased our capability. If we just look at the raw points that we can connect to, we've got about 3 times as much capability in the last few months as we previously had. And so we're very excited to see that they're putting effort and energy into making that a better connection for everyone, and we are following suit and have it in our roadmap to take full advantage of that. Another exciting opportunity for us that we are working on is Rebath. We have worked with Rebath Corporate for, it feels like 5 years now, and they have given us the green light to connect officially and start directly importing jobs and leads from their system, which is i360. So we currently can do leads and projects, just getting the data into your system, save you some time, some data entry. We've already gotten far enough to do some scheduling of leads, and so our roadmap next is to connect to their APIs for notes, documents, and project activities. So that's exciting stuff. And then we have Home Depot leads. If you do work for Home Depot in their leads categories, we have found opportunities on their APIs where we can connect and enhance our offering to you. Key items include the ability to send a quote directly from Cilio into the Home Depot lead system to save you the trouble of having to log into their system to do a quote, and the option to complete a lead after the install has been finished off, which is again another point where you could stay solely in our system and we could automate that for you. So we're excited to see those things coming out soon.
With that, we'll turn over to Jen. Jen, did you manage to stick with us this afternoon?
I am with you so far. I
right.
do have a storm rolling in that has killed my power before, so we will keep going as long as we can. Another exciting update is around our mobile measure drawing tool. Many of you have seen our mobile measure. We can do, it's doing storm screen security doors. It's doing entry and interior doors. It's doing windows right now. But we are very close to launching a drawing tool, which will allow you to add shapes and lines and scribble things on either just a blank screen that will generate a document or a picture or an image that you have taken, of the thing that you're measuring usually. That's very, very exciting. We are also making a huge push in our quoting side to drastically improve and enhance our quoting feature to give you a lot more tools and more flexibility in how you manage your quotes. And this is, two of the top things that we're trying to bring in are, collecting signatures and, having the visibility there that people are looking for. And then our next big push is also around compliance. Everybody needs to stay in line and, keep our retailers happy and meet their expectations, particularly around lead safe. That's the EPA and nobody wants them coming after you. So there are going to be some enhancements coming there. Immediately following that, you will see enhancements around expirations, which step one of that is actually already out in your system today. We have default expiration types. You no longer have to build your entire list from scratch. And then badges. Badges are out now. There is the ability to save your badge in your user profile. Today, it holds one badge, and you can then display that either from your desktop or your cell phone. It is also available, or it will be available in mobile app with our very next release, so that you can just tap on a button. Oh yeah, I have my badge. Here you go, Mr. Inspector Supervisor guy. So that's super exciting. Today it only does one. We have plans to give you the ability to load multiple badges if you're doing what we were talking about earlier, which is working for multiple retailers. All right, and then we're going to get into some tips and tricks with hidden gems. Paul, I think this is still me with some more mobile app and mobile measure. You can easily get directions online. There is a video embedded in this slide, but this slide has multiple videos attached to it. And so rather than sitting around and watching all these videos on our presentation, we're going to share the links when we share out this slide. They're embedded here. You can click them, but the next one is going to show you exactly what those badges look like. So Paula, if you hit play on that, this is what it's going to look like in the mobile app. Right here from your home screen, there is a button that will pull up your electronic badge. I don't have a badge, so we had to use the best thing we could find. And then also in your home menu at the bottom, the little pop-up is the second place where you can also access that badge that you have loaded directly from the mobile app.
Hey, can I just butt in real quick, Jen, on this one?
Of course.
If you guys haven't seen this capability for having a badge, where it came from is we heard from multiple clients the fact that, hey, we've got a background check for my guy. Lowe's always tends to show up when he left it on the dresser that day. And now we want a way to show it from the guy's phone. And that's exactly what this does. We introduced it from the web app probably a good month or two back. And now just adding it on to the app from the App Store. But if you haven't seen it yet, yeah, check it out online. We've got some articles that will show you how to use it. Go into a user profile, add a copy or an image of their badge. Just take a picture of their badge, and there your guy is. They never forget their phone. I promise you that. But at the same time, now they'll never be without their badge on a job site. So great stuff, guys. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Right. Moving on from that one, mobile measure. You now have the ability to generate two different kinds of mobile measures PDFs. So once you've completed your measure, you need to turn that into a document so you can share it with Lowe's, share it with your installer when it comes time for them to go out there swinging a hammer, and you get to. There is a control now to decide whether or not that document contains your item pricing or it does not contain item pricing. The video to set that up is also in this slide. And then the pickup report. This has been out for a little while, but it's one that a lot of people, are not necessarily aware that it exists. But that same pickup report that shows you your shopping list. If you're starting your route for the day, particularly for appliances, storm doors, somebody who's doing a bunch of jobs in a single day, and they have to go to the store and pick up all that product, this is your shopping list. We pull it directly out of the extended order details, and it says, okay, these are all your jobs. These are all the things you need to pick up. These are the PO numbers associated with them, the item numbers that are associated to those products, and you've got that quick list. It is the little blue button on your home screen that you can see right there, and there is a video on how to use that as well from mobile. It's been, a lifesaver for a lot of people. And then the next thing is visibility. How do you only share the information that you want to share with your crews? And this becomes complicated when you have multiple crews running with different scenarios. And we have a bunch of permissions and some new permissions that are going to allow you to do that. You can now automatically take your scheduled user and make them be the responsible user and or the salesperson on the job, all in one fell swoop just by scheduling that job. There's a permission that allows that to happen automagically, so you're not having to go back to the job page and make a whole bunch of extra clicks. And you can also allow your salesperson, or really anybody, to see all of the scheduled dates on that job. So if I'm scheduled for the job and I need to see whoever else is scheduled for that job, but I don't need to see their whole schedule. I only want to know when that person is working with me. This is the permission that is going to do it. A little word of caution here, it does show all of the appointments, past, present, and future. So be a little bit cautious there if you don't want them to see either, the job history or what's coming next on that job. All right. And then how do you configure your system to make sure that the visibility is correct? We have encountered many different scenarios. These are the top ones that we see the most often. Self-schedulers. You hand the job to your installer and you say, here, this is yours, go schedule it, go take care of it, let me know when it's done. Or the office is scheduling for your crews and your people don't see those jobs until the office places on their schedule. Or sometimes you have an amalgamation of both, where your crews are scheduling some of their stuff, the office is scheduling other things, and everybody's throwing stuff on the calendar, as they need to. You've got an office scheduling with a team lead, where the office does do the scheduling, but then there is a team leader, supervisor, crew lead, whatever you call them, that needs to see only the work that is assigned to their team. So they're not just seeing themselves, they're seeing themselves plus select other people. but the office is doing that scheduling. Or you've got that crew lead that then becomes the owner of the job, and that crew lead is responsible for parsing those jobs out to their team. So they're the ones that are doing the schedule. And then you've also got a larger crew that might have multiple crew leads. And you've got 3 or 4 people that are supervising the same crew. So they need to see all of each other's stuff, and they need to see everything for the crews below them. And on the next slide, what we've put together is a little chart that's going to walk you through exactly how to position your permissions in order to allow these various scenarios to happen, and make it just a little bit easier for you to make sure that you've got the right configuration and your team is seeing everything they need to and nothing they don't. And with
Awesome.
that, I'll turn it back to you, Paula.
Thank you, Jen. And to Jen's point, we didn't necessarily spend a lot of time on that last slide as far as how to configure the rest of today's webinar. After great info from Paul and Carl, it's really, it really focused on that did you know piece, stuff that we already do that you may not know about. So a lot of what you're seeing here is also documented in more detail as far as how to do it or use it or set it up, in our knowledge base. So we'll refer you back to some of those articles. We're adding videos, we're adding instructional content constantly as we continue to update. So I'm going to take the next section here called tricks. And the first thing I want to show everybody here real quick is, did you know that you can arrange your scheduler with departments and job titles to help keep you organized? And you kind of see from my video, it's just kind of going on loop here, that you can drop these down and make them collapsible or expandable. You can add that department or job title into your user's profile and apply that here in your scheduler. You can also, on the same line, easily update that department and job title using the user status report and the user importer. So I took a couple of screenshots there at the bottom. So you run your report, you download it, you make the changes you need and save it, and then re-upload that into your user importer to make bulk changes to your user profiles. Quick and easy. I've had a couple of great conversations with a couple of clients just in the last couple of weeks around this topic, and I'm really helping people stay organized in their scheduler screen. A couple of hot button tips and tricks. Did you know that there's a new hot button report? You can get a complete list of all of the custom hot buttons currently in your system. And you can run this report in 2 ways. You can run this report by button number. So just a list, boom, 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 of every hot button. Or you can run this report by job type and status. If you run it by job type and status, it's going to give you every hot button that is exposed to each status in each job type. So you will see, if you have a hot button that is exposed to all statuses, you will see that hot button show up multiple times. This report does get very lengthy, but there's a lot of filters that you can use. If I want to see all the buttons that are exposed just to a certain set of statuses, you can do that as well. It is a high-level overview of the functionality that they do in the exposure settings that are available, or the exposure settings set on that hot button, but can be really helpful. Secondarily, did you know that if your custom hot buttons don't have one of the 2 create note checkboxes checked, that Cilio doesn't capture an audit trail note on the back end either? So for example, if you have a hot button program to move a job to a new status, you don't have one of those 2 checkboxes checked, and you come to support with a question, how did this job move from this status to this status? I don't see a note. I don't know who did it. I'm going to look at you with a blank look on my face because we didn't capture an audit note on that either in the back end. So this is a really great application for this report. there is a column that says, does it capture a note? So if you want to audit your hot buttons and make sure that all of your hot buttons are currently programmed to drop an audit trail note, it's a great application for using this report. Next up, a couple of other hot button items here. And I'm going to set the stage for you for just a second. In the scenario that I'm going to kind of show you here, once a quote has been completed, so in this specific scenario, I want to use a hot button to send an email to my customer that includes a link that they can click to indicate that they are ready to purchase. Okay, so it's kind of setting the stage there for you for a second. But each hot button, every one of your custom hot buttons has its own quote unquote dynamic code. So in the section of your hot button where it says hot button web link control, this first screenshot is the I'm ready hot button. That becomes the dynamic code that I can take and actually insert into a different button. So in that second screenshot there, you see that button is the send customer email button. And I've taken that, that I'm ready dynamic code and inserted it into the email body setup of that second button that says send customer email button. And what I get when I do that is this email right here. This is what that email looks like in practice. So I send my email to my customer. The customer can click the I am ready button right from the body of their email and go up and take the action that that button is programmed to take, whether it be moving a status, sending a confirmation, leaving a homepage notification, whatever else you have programmed that hot button to do. But a lot of people don't know that you can kind of insert that hot button link into the body of an email. All right, a couple of those specific items here. Did you know that there is a new list view option? Many of you have been asking for this for a long time. The Lowe's exception status is a new option that you can add in your list views. So all those list views, when you open up a bunch of jobs and you have customized the columns that are set there that you can view, you're going to find the new one. It is called Lowe's exception status date. Don't be fooled. This is the status, not a date. It just has got a little bit of funky verbiage there, but you will appreciate that one. Secondly, some of you already take advantage of this feature, but some of you don't. And some people occasionally are surprised that we do this because they maybe didn't know about it or didn't set it up when they were first onboarded. But did you know that Cilio can do payment matching based on your income check from Lowe's or your incoming check from Lowe's and take an automated action? So when an incoming payment matches to an existing PO, note that it must already exist in your system, and it matches to that PO value, Cilio can autofill the check number, PR number, check date, check amount, and move that job to a new status. And there you see a screenshot there. Those settings are found in your company snapshot. Last but not least, actually there's one more slide here for one more Lowe's specific item here, but I always like to throw this in somewhere in our Did You Know slide, that you can purchase 1, 2, or 3 hours of dedicated support time. And you can really use us for just about anything. Use us in a dedicated fashion to make system changes, take advantage of our expertise in any area. We work with hundreds of clients, Home Depot, Lowe's, retail. We've set up a fair number of systems like yours. And so take advantage of us. That's what we are here for. And my last slide here before I turn it over to Daniel, I want to talk quickly about Lowe's order modifications. You've heard it mentioned in the upcoming API or upcoming what we're going to do in the future, but we do already have some of this started, and you may have already even seen it a little bit. Just came out
this morning.
Actually, I take that back. Nobody's seen it yet because it came out this
Nobody's
morning.
seen it.
Thanks,
This
Jen.
is hot off the presses today.
Hot off the presses today. This is step one. This is not completed by any means, but this is step one. We are now identifying that PO modification when Lowe's makes a modification and adding a note to the order. And then you'll also notice a new search field in your advanced search that will allow you to search for jobs with PO modifications to help you find those easier. Go find what modification was made and make the changes to that job page as needed. So again, this is step one. You saw it earlier in our future enhancement slide as well. So there is more to come on this as we help give you the visibility that you are looking for with these order modifications. And with that, I will pass it over to Daniel.
Thank you, Paula. Common theme here at CIO is our customers ask and we listen. These are some modifications we've made to the job page based on your feedback. Some people who were the ones asking for it know, and a lot of you may not be aware, but you can now see your price patch on the job page. We have learned through our experience with working with companies like Lowe's and IME that oftentimes the price patch may not align with the store that the customer was in when they purchased the quote. It's often driven by the zip code of the customer, and so to help give you a heads up that there may be a discrepancy between the final quoted price and what the customer is expecting to see, we've included information when we have it now on what price patch applies to this job. Another one that is a big one, and I think Paul touched on this earlier when he said when you take over a new area, you own the problems that come with it. This is a way of identifying potential orders that may be a problem child when you move into a new area or when they just show up in your system. We can now show you the date the job was sold from the store versus the date the order was created in CIO. And this is a great tool for identifying, hey, this job was transferred to me from another installer, or this job's been hanging out there for a long time in this area I just took over and needs attention to get this cleaned up fast and get that customer back on a happy path.
Yep, and I just want to jump in here, Daniel, on that one. This is going to be very helpful for some of the, district moves that we're seeing today as jobs are being shifted around to help those guys that are picking up new areas understand which one of the jobs that they're receiving that are older versus newer jobs, so they make sure that they're working the jobs in an order that doesn't aggravate the customers for this brand new area that they just inherited.
Absolutely. And then we also have a request we're answering with emails, the ability to select a from address when you're sending outgoing emails from our system to have a more personalized email address instead of your generic company address. When you're sending something off to a customer, it'll look like it's coming directly from you and just helps with that more personal touch on your communications. Did you guys know that we connect to a wide variety of retailers and vendors? We often talk about Lowe's and Home Depot as two of the giants in the big box space, but we also connect to Costco. As we mentioned earlier, we are connecting to Rebath, but we also connect to places like 3-Day Blinds, Blinds.com, and Installations Made Easy. Another suite of tools we have are our connections to companies like FloorSoft and Measure Square as measuring tools, and to Wind River. If you don't recognize what Wind River is, that is a payment processing company. So if you find yourself starting your own retail location, or perhaps you already have your own independent work from the large retailers and you need to collect payments, we can process electronic checks and credit card payments directly in CIO. Earlier, we talked about future upcoming API enhancements. I want to talk a little bit about what we've done in the past few months that you may not be aware of. For those of you who do work for IME, we've been adding and expanding our categories, our labor categories that we can bring in and automatically map. So as you look to pull work out of that category, we are trying to get out ahead and make that an easy transition for you. We've also added a number of enhancements to the automatic actions we can take based on order changes that happen in IME's management program of MIC. We are continuing to expand that section so that when a customer signs a contract or issues payment to IME, you'll know right away. 3-day blinds. This is a newer integration for us, but it is something we're very excited about. We have recently opened up order endpoints from their new system. Some of you that do that type of work for 3-day blinds may know that they just created a whole new internal management system that included APIs for the first time ever. We are so far the only company connecting to 3-day blinds, and we can currently pull their information in. And we have a roadmap with them. We have done all of the work in the testing to pass notes, documents, and scheduling information. And as soon as they are ready to turn that on, we will be ready for it on the CIO side. Revath. In the last few months, we've developed being able to import leads and projects to save you the data entry and scheduling the leads. And then this is a new one that we are super excited about. In the next webinar, this will go on our Did You Know We Can Connect page. But ArcSight, this was one that we've heard a lot of buzz about in the industry, and many of our clients have asked us about connecting to ArcSight. If you don't know what ArcSight is, it is a quoting tool that allows you to do drawings in complex areas like a kitchen, or if you're working on a large area like a fence, and it can take your drawings and convert them to a material list and do your takeoffs. And our integration that we are building currently, the API side is actually complete. We just have to finish out a few polishes on the UI side, and you'll see a new feature available to you. But we'll be able to pull that quote back into CIO so you can issue a custom quote to your customer.
Fantastic. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate that. And we are right on time today. I was a little nervous. We had a lot of really good content to cover today. So hopefully you learned a little something new today. Hopefully you took a tidbit or two, whether it be from Paul and Carl sharing some of their industry insights and growing your business, or if you took a tidbit from today's, sort of did you know section, whether it be a tip, a trick, or a hidden gem. Go ahead, and last but not least, did you know that we have a knowledge base full of great reference articles that you can access? You can access those right from that chat box. You can also navigate directly to our help desk site. Many of you know where that is. If you don't, please don't hesitate to ask. If you need help from the support team, you know how to get a hold of us: email, ticket, phone, or chat. We will get this deck out to you probably early next week, along with the link to the recording. And mark your calendars now. Our next webinar will be in August. So mark your calendar, August 17, 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. I'm going to do some hot button how-tos. This will be a little bit more in depth, into the weeds a little bit on how to do some fancy footwork with hot buttons. So hit a couple of high notes here today about hot buttons, but we will do a little bit deeper dive, do some education on hot buttons. So thank you all for being here and joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.